Hello and welcome to At Brookings. I'm Gigi Hinton. On the podcast this week, what lies ahead for Iran? As post-election turmoil continues there, Brookings experts have released a report on approaches that the United States can take in dealing with this troubled nation. Then we have all sorts of rescue packages circulating through the economy now, but it's the deficit that we should watch, so says one Brookings expert. And later, the man on the street weighs in on cash for clunkers. We'll have all that next at Brookings.
This is At Brookings, a review of news and events for the week of June 22nd, 2009.
Iran is an important country in a critical part of the world. Acting Vice President and Foreign Policy Director Martin Indyk led a discussion on the post-election civic unrest plaguing Iran.
The events in Iran will clearly have profound implications for the whole Middle East. That's because Iran has been a driver of strategic relations in the region for at least the last decade, particularly in recent years. And it was that context, its bid for dominance in the region, its efforts to project its influence into the Middle East heartland, into the Arab-Israeli arena, and of course into Lebanon, and in particular its drive for nuclear capabilities.
If you believe that Iran is a far greater danger than anything that comes out of Russia, what it's doing in its near abroad, its nuclear arsenal, you might decide, all right, I'm going to sacrifice everything having to do with Russia in the hope of getting Russia on board with harsher sanctions on Iran. That would be one reasonable set of choices. Another president might decide, I'm not going to make that same sacrifice. I'm going to do what I can on Iran, but I'm not going to give everything the Russians want. That would be a different choice, probably just as legitimate. At this point, though, we don't know where Barack Hussein Obama is. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think he knows. Because at this point in time, I don't think he knows what the real trade-offs are. And until he knows what the real trade-offs are, I don't think he's even going to think about what trade-offs to make.
I believe what's happened in the past 10 days has created, for the first time in the aftermath of the revolution, a serious opposition movement. This is one of the issues that many of us looking at Iran always felt was missing. When people talked about popular dissatisfaction, it was clearly true. You felt it when you spoke to Iranians, you saw it. But it was open dissatisfaction. It was never organized. It had never coalesced into anything remotely resembling a movement. There were student groups, there were labor unions, there were organizations of women and others that were mobilizing to try to express unhappiness over particular demands. There were reformist political parties, there were semi-tolerated oppositions like the Iran Freedom Movement, but there was nothing that resembled the kind of broad-based, organized movement that one would need if one was going to see something along the lines of a revolution or a regime change.
I'm not sure how I feel about the Cash for Clunkers program. I don't know all the details of it, but my understanding is that by the time that they were done amending the bill, the standards were so low that a large improvement in fuel efficiency wasn't actually necessary to get the tax credit.
I think it's a very good program. I think the U.S. is actually behind the 8 ball. Japan are already doing it already.
While the new car may get a lot better mileage than the one I currently have, you have to weigh all of the resources used to actually build that new car that I'm buying into the whole equation. And that may, in fact, offset just driving the original car that had bad mileage.
And that's what I think.
As the nation's efforts to climb out of its economic doldrums continue, Vice President and Economic Studies Director William Gale says the fiscal crisis is bad now and could be even worse in the future.
The administration's budget, even if we do exactly what the administration wants, even if Congress imposes pay-go and sticks to it for 10 years, which is unheard of, even if the economic recovery works the way the administration says it's going to, which is a very optimistic forecast, even if all those things happen, we're on an unstable path for the budget, and we're on an unstable path within the next 10 years. This is no longer a long-term scenario. I think the key message is the future is now. The future has arrived. In terms of these issues have become much more important, much sooner than anybody wanted to, as a combination of both the enormous economic downturn right now and the weakening long-term outlook that sets up.
At Brookings is produced by the Brookings Institution. To learn more about the issues discussed on At Brookings, visit our website at brookings.edu.